And here we go. So we got the cabinet we built yesterday. I want to put a top on here, solid wood. I have this old mahogany that was from a deck board. It's nice stuff. I'm going to clean it up, plane it, and joint it, and then we're going to glue it together to make a top that we can put on top of here. Then from there, we're going to build a face frame, a door. We're going to do a back. We need some kind of legs. I'm kind of just winging this one as we go. Sometimes that turns out good, sometimes it doesn't. But for this project, I think that's the best way to do this one. So we have these pieces of mahogany, these slices of a deck board, or cuts of a deck board. I not only want to get rid of this discoloration, which is, I believe, the sapwood of the tree, but I also don't need these as wide as they are. So the top's going to be about 18 inches, so each one of these should be about 4.5 inches before we glue them together. So my first step will be using the jointer to get one straight edge on the side of the wood, just like we did earlier with the plywood. Okay, so now I have these pieces here. They are measuring about 1 inch thick. I want them to end up to be about 3/4. So we're going to use this machine, the thickness planer, run them through there until they're about 3/4 inch, and then move to the next step. Okay, so now we have these boards planed down. You can see the grain a lot clearer now, I hope. Turned out really good. So we're going to take 4 of these boards, glue them together on the edge, clamp them, leave them overnight, and this will become our top for our cabinet. We're going to glue this top up. I laid out the pieces in a way that I thought looked nice. So we got our clamps here, we got our glue, we got some water in a bucket and a rag. We're going to apply glue on the edge. I'll show you that now. There's all different ways to do this. For sake of filming this, I'm just going to use my finger. We're going to evenly distribute the glue. A lot of it's going to squeeze out after we clamp it. I'm going to do this for all of them, put them together, and then we're going to clamp it. Okay, so now we have our panel glued up. You can see the glue squeezing out a little bit. That's a good sign. I found over time that if you clamp too aggressively, it doesn't really do anything for you. It's best just to clamp it with enough pressure to get a tight joint. You don't want to like crank them. I used to do that. It causes issues. And then also, so I have this clamp and this clamp. I don't know if you could see that in the last clip, but if you tighten these down, there might be a tendency for the board to bow a little bit like this. So I also put one up here to counteract that. So I can use the different tensions to make sure this is straight. So when it's dry and ready to go, we have a nice straight board. All right, so I've been giving this some thought. I wanted to do a different door style than I'm used to doing. There are a few different options. I guess I'm just kind of sick of the same old door style, and I'm trying to think of a new one. I made this mock-up here. So I'm using Blum hinges, which are very common for cabinetry. These are soft close. These are what you would call full overlay for 3/4 inch material. But like I said, I'm trying something different. Might turn out bad, might turn out good, but I made a mock-up just to see. So when the door closes, you're left with this profile, which leaves a slight gap, or reveal I should say, on the face frame, which I like. And then I have this cut to a 22.5, and then from the front it should have a slight, not slight, but the angle on the door is cut in this way. Okay, so I have these pieces. They're 1 inch wide by about 1/4 inch thick. The cabinet itself is 3/4. I'm gonna put these on there, leave a little reveal on each side, and that basically means like a little gap. I could explain that better later, but that's very common in carpentry to leave a reveal rather than try to get something perfectly flush like that. Anyway, we're gonna put these on there. One here, one right there, one right there, one right here. And then that'll complete the front of our cabinet. We're going to figure out something to do for the back, and then we're gonna move forward with building the door. So we're gonna use a pin nailer. I use a Grex when I'm in my shop. It's basically a tiny little nail. They're like little needles. You'll barely see them. And they're not really for strength, it's just to hold the pieces in place until the glue dries. But I'm gonna use these nails and some glue. I'm gonna put glue on here. Put a few holes, very small, like I said, tack them in here. And then when the glue is dry, this will be ready to go for installing the door. All right, so we have our face frame on, I guess, of sorts. Again, this is a different style of building, but I have this on there now, glued. I use some pin nails. I'm gonna cut this after. When it dries, they'll be flush. So I'm not sure if I want a solid door on the front like this mock-up here, or if I want mesh also in the door. I'm leaning towards mesh on both sides, the back and the front, but we'll see how things move along. Okay, that worked much better. Safer, faster. I'm gonna keep doing that, get the panels cut to size, and then we'll put the brass inside the cabinet and see what it looks like. All right, so we have our brass mesh cut. Kind of a pain, honestly, but we got it done. This is what it looks like on the back of the cabinet. I know this is not a normal way to build a cabinet or a piece of furniture, but I like the look of that. And then on the front, I think either we'll go with this for the door on the inside, or we'll go with a solid door. Okay guys, back in the shop. This is what I have so far, kind of the idea. Currently kicking around. This is the back with the mesh on there. These legs were from the same project I got this brass from. They ended up not being the right fit for that project. They look pretty nice. I'm thinking of going with them. Something like this. This is actually flipped upside down, but basically the same. So we got that. We spoke about, or I spoke about using this door style that I came up with. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that. We'll see what happens, but I'm starting to think that I'll leave the mesh on the back here, but do a solid front. Okay, so the next step I think is going to be milling down some pieces right here to hold the brass in. Going to use solid mahogany again, some straps, and I'm going to use these screws, flatheads. That way if this ever is damaged or has to come out, it can be easily taken out, but it also still looks pretty good. Okay, so we have our pieces. They're a 1/2 inch by 1 inch. And my plan is to put the brass screws through here. We slide in like this. And we'll screw them in like this. That way we can take this mesh out, and it'll also be helpful when we apply our finish, our oil in this case. We can finish the whole cabinet, then put the brass in, then put the screws in, and we won't have to worry about getting any oil on it. All right, so I've put the legs, or I've mocked the legs up on the cabinet. This side I have about 2 inches here, 2 inches there. Looks like that. On this side, I have 1 inch, which brings the bracket up to the front. I'm trying to decide which one looks better. I think the inch is better, and it's also going to be more stable, so I'm going to go with that. Okay, so if you look at this bracket, we have, try to get this to focus, we have the weld in there. So it creates a little bit of a problem, I've noticed. When I try to put this on there, I'm left with a kind of a wiggle or a gap, if you will. So the solution to that, I'm gonna put this bracket on and then mark, this is where I want it actually, like right there. So I'm gonna use my pencil and mark like this. That way I know where the weld is hitting. So it's from this point to this point. I'm gonna have to use a chisel or sandpaper and get rid of some of this so that the weld does not interfere and that this piece can sit flush. See, that's flush. If I go to the weld, it jumps up. Okay, we're gonna try it now and see if it's any better. I might have to take a little more off. Okay, that's a lot better, but I still need to take a little bit off. Okay, so I'm gonna put the last one on. I have these marked because each one is a little bit different. So basically, you can see the notch here I chiseled out to clear the weld. They fit nicely. I'm gonna pencil these holes. I'm gonna make a mark like this. This will also give me something to register my drill bit in, like that. I'm gonna take a drill bit, carefully drill. The legs came with these screws. They seem nice. I'm going to use them. So now I'm going to carefully. This is an impact driver. You can definitely overdo this. I'm used to using it, but you're going to be very careful when you put these in, not to go crazy. There you go. Put one more. Last one. And there you have it. That's our legs. Let's see what it looks like. Not bad. Looks pretty good. We're going to keep moving. Okay, so we got the legs on. I got the brass in here. I got the brass screws holding this in with the little strips. And I have a top we glued up. I'm going to come up with a plan for that. I'm starting to think that instead of using a door on the cabinet, like we mocked up here, to use this for something else. I thought, just looking at it, I like that you can kind of see through it, and I could see putting this next to a couch or a chair or whatever, and you could see through here and see through the front, and maybe one shelf right here, you could display things on there and they could be seen rather than covered, and or have brass on both sides. I like the idea of a shelf. You could put plants or whatever, decorations, whatever, pictures. Put this next to a sofa and it could be more of a display case. So I think I'm going to pivot in that direction and come up with a shelf design and an option to install and go with a shelf here. And we're also going to do the top, and after that we're on to finishing, and we're in the home stretch. All right, guys, so that was part 2 of the storage cabinet build / giveaway. I hope you enjoyed it. As we go on, the production will get better, I promise, and we'll figure things out. But I appreciate you following along. If you haven't yet, subscribe and click the notification bell thing, and I hope you watch the next one. Thank you. Look at this giant bug.